Directing involves instructing, guiding, counseling, motivating and leading. A good leader can always identify the potential of his employees and motivate them to extract work up to their full potential. Directing is a managerial process which takes place throughout the life of an organization. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence. In this session on directing, I will be just looking into their various aspects. So, this is the 7th chapter for the 2nd PUC Business Studies. So, in this session, we will be looking into the introduction. What is the meaning of the word direction? And we will also be knowing the meaning. What is the importance of directing? So, how directing is important in our daily organization. And then we will also be looking into the various principles which guide directing. Then we will also be looking into what are the various elements of direction. So, what does direction actually involve? What are the various activities involved in directing? So, in this, first will be the supervision. So, directing is nothing but supervising the activities of the subordinates. So, how you are supervising them, why it is important to supervise the work of the subordinate, that we will be knowing. And then next is motivation. So, in this motivation, how you will be motivating your subordinates to do the job, that we will be knowing. And also, one important theory we will be learning here, that is Maslow's needs theory of hierarchy. Who is this Maslow and what is his theory of hierarchy of needs? That we will be learning in this chapter on directing. And also, we will be looking into what is the meaning of leadership and the various leadership styles also we will be knowing. Then we will also be learning about what is communication. So, communication is nothing but there is an exchange of information from the sender to the receiver. So, how this process of communication works, who is the sender, who is the decoder, who is the receiver, what is the message. So, all these things we will be learning in communication. And also, we will be looking into the elements of communication process. So, how the communication process goes on between the sender of the message and the receiver of the message, and also the importance of communication. So, how important it is to communicate. So, what is the best way of communication? What are the different types of communication? And then we will be also looking into what is formal communication and what is informal communication. So, we have studied about what is a formal organization and what is the informal organization in the chapter organizing. So, in this chapter, we will be studying or we will be discussing about what is formal communication, what is informal communication, and what are the barriers to communication. So, there will be so many barriers to communication. We will be studying in detail about what are the various barriers to communication, and lastly, how to improve communication. So, how to make effective communication. So, all these things we will be discussing in this 7th chapter, that is directing. Now, coming to what is the meaning of the word directing. So, we all come across this word directing in our daily lives. Usually, whenever it is related to a movie, we just think about who is the director of the movie. Suppose he is a well-known name, then we can expect something good. So, we will have an idea of what this person has directed, what kind of films he has made. Previously, whatever he has directed the movies, based on that, we have an expectation of his next movies. So, if he is a well-known director, we will have an expectation of his direction in his forthcoming movies. So, the same way, we have to understand that directing is one way of management, or it is one of the most important functions of management, or we can always say that management works through direction. Now, let us look into what is the meaning of this word directing. So, in the ordinary sense, directing means giving instructions and guiding people in doing the work. So, in directing, we are just giving instructions to the people. So, the superior will tell every day to his subordinate what work he has to do. So, that is directing, or he is giving instructions, or he is guiding people. So, when the person is doing the job, if he has any doubts relating to his work, he can always get his doubts clear from his superior. So, all these clearing of doubts or giving instructions, all these simple things, we can call it as directing. So, in the context of management of an organization, directing refers to the process of instructing, guiding, counseling, motivating and leading people in the organization to achieve its objectives. So, when you just think of directing in simple terms, it means just giving instructions and seeing what the work they have done. But then, if you want to just understand what is the essence of direction, you should see it in the context of management of an organization. So, if you want to understand the concept of direction, we should know that it is the process of instructing. So, you will be instructing your subordinates what work they have to do and what is the time frame and how they have to do, the process of doing and what are the rules involved and how they have to submit the work. So, all these things, that is instructing, guiding, and when they are doing the job, you will have to keep on periodically, you have to go and check how they are doing the job, whether they are deviating from the path. So, and if there are any deviations, you bring them to the right path. So, that is guiding. Then counseling. So, you counsel the people. So, if the person is finding it hard to do the job, you just counsel them how to handle the job more efficiently. And then motivating. So, in case the person gets demotivated by the job or the project which he is offered, then the direction always also involves motivation. You motivate persons to do the job. You motivate them to see that they are not interested in the job. They are always interested in handling the job, or they get more involved in doing the job. And leading people. Leading people means you are having the power to influence your subordinates. So, a leader is a person who can influence his subordinates to action. So, for the sake of a leader, they should be able to undertake various actions. So, this process of leading also is done through directing to achieve its objectives. So, whatever are the organizational objectives, it has to be achieved, and how it has to be achieved, it is only through this process of directing. So, directing involves instructing, guiding, counseling, motivating and leading. So, all these things are included in this word directing. Then, let us look into other meanings. So, it is one of the key managerial functions performed by every manager. So, whoever is a person, manager in an organization, he has to do this job of directing, or directing is the job through which the manager will be working. The manager will not do the work. Actually, he will be directing his subordinates to do the job, and it is a managerial process as such. Then, directing is a managerial process which takes place throughout the life of an organization. So, whenever there is an organization, we need to have direction. So, why we need to have direction? So, whatever the organizational goals which are laid by the top management, they have to be implemented in action. To implement these goals and targets which are set by the top management, we need to make people understand how to implement these into action, and that is done through direction. So, it is a managerial process, and it is the process of instructing, guiding, counseling and motivating and also leading the persons in the organization towards the organizational goals. Then, directing, so if you can look into the meaning again or the nature, you can also call it as the nature of directing. So what is the actual nature of directing? Directing initiates action. So when we think of all other jobs, it is planning, organizing, staffing, all these things, you are creating a work environment in the organization, but the actual work takes place through direction. Directing initiates action, or with the help of direction, you are putting things into motion, or directing is a key managerial function. A manager has to perform this along with planning, organizing, staffing and controlling while discharging his duties in an organization. So a manager has to do planning, organizing, staffing and controlling, and along with this, the most important aspect is directing. So why we call it as the most important aspect? Because it is only through direction all the work of the organization is run or started. You start the process through this direction, you are putting things into motion, or you are telling the subordinates what they have to do, how they have to do, and within what time they have to do, and as such the activities will start once you start this direction. Then directing takes place at every level of management. So we should understand that this directing job does not take place only at the lower level or only at the topmost level or only at the middle level. It exists at all levels of management. So every manager from the top executive to supervisor perform the function of directing. So it will be there wherever there is a superior subordinate relationship. So as I had explained earlier in my organizing session, I had told you that there is a clarity in working relationships in an organization. There is a superior subordinate relationship existing between every job positions of the organization. So wherever you find a superior subordinate relationship, we should understand that there should be direction. So this direction function will exist wherever there is this superior and subordinate relationships, because with the help of direction only, the superior will be getting the job done by the subordinate. The subordinate can always express his doubts. He can always just ask any clarifications of his job from his superior and get the job done, and in this way he or she can contribute for the achievement of the organizational goals. So this direction exists at all levels of organization. So if it is the top management, direction is they will be setting the targets and they will be setting the organizational goals, and this will be handed over to the middle management. So the middle management will study what are the organizational targets and goals, and they will formulate their own plans for achieving, and then this will be again percolated down to the lower levels of organization, where again they will be just making their own plans based on the plans of the middle level management, and these plans will be broken down into hourly basis, weekly basis or on a monthly basis. So in such a way that all the plans are reaching the fruition, or you see that whatever plans you have made for that particular level of management, they are implemented into action. So we should understand that direction exists at every level of management. Then the third meaning or the third nature of direction is it is a continuous process, just like a circle which is moving. So the wheels of the organization keeps on moving only through the help of direction. So it is a continuous activity which takes place throughout the life of organization, irrespective of the people occupying managerial positions. So we should understand that just like management management is a continuous process. So this function of direction is also a continuous process. It is not that one day you direct and next day you just keep quiet. No, nothing like that. So every day you should have this direction process. So it is continuous. As long as the organization runs, as long as there are targets to be set, as long as there are goals to be achieved, we need to understand that direction is always going on in the organization. So it is a continuous process. So irrespective of the manager, if he retires or he resigns, so somebody else will be in his shoes or somebody else will take over the managerial position and he will be directing. So we should understand that directing is a continuous process. Then next, directing flows from top to bottom. So this we should understand. Directing flows from top to bottom. So it is first initiated in the top level and flows to the bottom through organizational hierarchy. So in the top level of management, all the goals and all the targets are framed. From there, it reaches to the middle level management where they frame their own plans and policies for that in coordination with the top level, and from there it goes to the lowest levels of the organizational hierarchy. So it means that every manager can direct his immediate subordinate and take instructions from his immediate boss. So in this process of direction, we should understand that instructions are given from the superior to the subordinate, and it is the subordinate's duty to follow the directions. So he has to take instructions from his superior and work as per the instructions. So in this way, we should understand the meaning of the word directing. So directing means it initiates action, it exists at all levels of management, it is a continuous process and it flows from top to bottom. That is, it follows the chain of authority in an organization. Now, next we'll just look into the importance of directing. So, in this importance of directing, we should understand that it helps to initiate action by people in the organization towards the achievement of desired objectives. So, you are directing the people to do the job, how to do the job, when to do, who has to do. So here you can see this person is being picked up for the job. It is the process of identifying people who have to do the job and how he has to do it. So in the process of direction, you are helping the people to do action, or you are initiating action in the organization. So a supervisor guides his subordinates, clarifies the doubts in performing a task, and it will help the worker to achieve work targets given to him. So just like a supervisor. So what is the work of the supervisor in an organization? His job is to supervise the work of his subordinates. So supervisor will have at least 10 to 20 subordinates who will be working under him, and he will be just overseeing what the work each of them is doing. Then when he sees that when the person is in doubt, he can always clear the doubts of his subordinates and see that he does his job in a better manner. So he gives them useful tips, and he will also tell them the skills of the trade, and as a result of which the employee can do his job well. So it helps to initiate action. Then the next importance of directing is it integrates employees' efforts in the organization in such a way that every individual effort contributes to the organizational performance. So it integrates the employees' efforts. So whatever the employees' efforts of the organization, so it should integrate with the organizational performance. So here we should understand that most of the persons who are employed, they come to an organization with the intention of earning a very good remuneration, but then they will not be willing to work well. But then through the efforts of the manager, he should make them understand that in order to gain good salary or a good remuneration, so each of the person or every person should work most efficiently. He should put in his 100% efforts in his job. Only then he can reap the awards. So on the other hand, the organization also will be wanting to see that it gets the most of the work done with the least remuneration. So these there are two extremes which will be there in every organization. So it is essential for the manager to change the attitude of the employees, to see that he has a changed attitude towards his job and he puts in his 100% effort and gets the job done most effectively as per the guidance of the organizational objectives. So in this way, we should see that he integrates the efforts of the employees in the organization. Then the next importance of directing is directing guides employees to fully realize their potential and capabilities by motivating and providing effective leadership. So, as I had explained earlier, directing involves employees to fully realize their potential. So, you will be picking and choosing whom you want to, what work has to be done. So, when you have already appointed persons for the various jobs, so in that way, you will be just selecting persons better talented to handle a few projects. So when you give them these projects, so it will be a challenge to them. They will accept the challenge and we can always help them realize their full potential. How we can help them realize? By motivating them and also by properly leading the team. So the manager will be leading, guiding, motivating, counseling all his employees. Through all his efforts, all these efforts, he will be able to bring in the potential of each individual. So each potential individual does not know how potential is, what type of a candidate he is. So to bring out the hidden talent among the people also, this direction will help. Then a good leader can always identify the potential of his employees and motivate them to extract work up to their full potential. So he will be able to identify the potential in the worker and see that he works up to his full potential. Then the next importance of directing is directing facilitates introduction of needed changes in the organization. So whenever there is a change of any policies or rules or regulations in an organization, people tend to resist. So this is a natural human tendency. Now let us see how direction can help in adapting to new changes. So as I had told you earlier, people have a tendency to resist changes in the organization. So effective direction through motivation, communication and leadership helps to reduce such resistance and develop required cooperation and introducing changes in the organization. So when through the process of direction, you can always tell the people why the change is being made, or what he can always give them additional effort or reward for those changes what he is bringing, and why it is essential for the organization to bring about these changes, and through these changes how it will benefit the people. So in this way he will be counseling the employees of the organization. So when he is counseling, then people will come to understand these changes are for their own good, and they will understand and they will cooperate with the management, and we can bring about any change in the organization. So whether there is a technological change or whether there is any other change needed in the organization, it can be easily brought about through this process of direction. So through this process of direction, the manager will be motivating people to accept the changes, and he will be giving them proper rewards in case of those who have accepted these changes and worked well with the organization. And through his motivation and leadership skills, he will be able to bring about a positive change in the attitude of the people. So they develop a changed attitude towards the latest changes, and as such they just cooperate with the management in implementing the changes. So all this is done with the process of directing. Then the next importance of directing is effective directing helps to bring stability and balance in the organization, since it fosters cooperation and commitment among people and helps to achieve balance among various groups, activities and departments. So we should understand that with the help of effective direction, so only when the direction is effective, we are able to bring stability in the organization. Now, what do you mean by stability in the organization? That functions or the activities of the organization run very smoothly without any disruptions in day-to-day activities. So there is stability and balance in the organization. And how we can have stability and balance? With the help of cooperation and commitment among the people. So through the counseling, through motivating, through leadership skills, the manager is able to convince the people about the various changes in the organization and how they have to adapt to the changes, and as a result of which we can always seek the cooperation and commitment of the employees in the organization, and with their cooperation he can see that there is balance among the various groups of organization will be there. So there is balance and in groups, activities and departments. So he should, through this process of direction, we should understand that there is better coordination and cooperation among the various departments of the organization. So this is only possible through effective direction. Then next we will just look into what are the basic principles of directing. So through these principles we will be able to understand this work of direction better. So in this principles of direction, first principle is principle of maximum individual contribution. You can see that each person has contributed. So this is her contribution and this is his contribution for the work of the organization. So this principle emphasizes that directing techniques must help every individual in the organization to contribute his maximum potential for achievement of organizational objectives. It should bring out untapped energies of the employees for efficiency of the organization. So in this principle of maximum contribution to the organization, we should see that the potential in every individual is tapped and he brings out his best. So whatever his contribution, it should be his through his maximum effort. Through his 100% effort, he should be able to contribute for the organizational goals. So in this principle of maximum individual contribution, it is the work of the director to see that the potential of each of the employees is tapped and he contributes in a better way for the organizational goals. Then next principle of direction is harmony of objectives. Now if you can see this, all these colors are in harmony. So all these things, it creates a very good picture of the scenery which is given here. In the same way, we should see that there is harmony of objectives. Very often we find individual objectives of the employees and the organizational objectives are conflicting to each other. So individuals don't want to work hard, and whereas the organization wants the individual to work very hard, and so these type of objectives are conflicting with each other. So good directing should provide harmony by convincing that employee rewards and work efficiency are complementary to each other. So each person he wants to put in least efforts but gain maximum rewards. But the employee wants them to work very hard but give them a small amount of salary. This sort of a conflict exists in every organization. But then it is the duty of the manager to instill this sort of he should have this directing skills to see that each of the individual he just contributes for the best of the objectives. That is, he contributes in a maximum way for the objectives of the organization. And how he does that? By giving them rewards. So if he just set targets and see that this employee reaches the target as fast as possible, and then he can claim the reward. So in this way, through financial incentives and non-financial incentives, the manager should be able to convince the employees to work better, and at the same way the organization also should be able to recognize the efficient efforts of the employees and reward them suitably. So then in the third principle of directing, we will be looking into unity of command. So this unity of command we have come across in the previous sessions, that is under Henry Fayol's principles of command. This is one of the most important principles of management, that is unity of command. Now let us look into what this principle tells us. This principle insists that a person in the organization should receive instructions from one superior only. So the persons in the organization should receive instructions from one superior only. So if there are two or more bosses, so if instructions are received from more than one, it creates confusion, conflict and disorder in the organization. So if instructions are received, if there are two bosses, then the subordinates will not know whom to follow, whether to follow boss 1 or boss 2. So it will create confusion, it will create conflict, and it will also create disorder in the organization. So in order to see that the organizational activities are running smoothly, it is essential for the directions to have unity of command. So there should be one departmental head or one supervisor to supervise all the activities. So if there are two or more bosses to give command, it will not be in the interest of the organization. Then the fourth principle of directing is appropriateness of direction technique. Now what is this appropriateness of direction technique? So according to this principle, appropriate motivational and leadership technique should be used while directing the people based on the subordinate needs, capabilities, situational variables. So when you are directing, you can see here one person is just putting the snow here and this person is putting the snow here, and these people, they all need to be directed well. So there is need for proper direction. So when you are directing, you should see that you should use the most proper motivational and leadership technique. So depending on the temperament of the employees, if the person has any financial obligations, then it is best to give him financial incentives. And if the person is looking for a status or a social need, for those persons we need to see that there are some non-financial incentives. So depending on the temperament of the employees, you try to motivate them and you try to see that they give the best to the organization. So what kind of motivational technique we should use and what kind of leadership style you should use in direction. So all these things should be decided by the manager. So what is the appropriate direction technique? Whether this person is motivated by financial incentives or whether that person is motivated by non-financial incentives, what kind of motivation will motivate him? So all these things the manager has to study with his efforts, and through that he should decide what is the kind of direction technique he has to use. Then the next principle of direction is managerial communication. So what is this managerial communication? So effective managerial communication across all levels in the organization makes direction effective. So we should understand that communication is the one of the most important necessities of any organization. So communication lines should always be open. Only then we can see that we can avoid any misunderstandings in the organization. So through communication only the manager will be directing, and it should be across all levels in management. So whether it is a top level, middle level or lower level, or whether it is flows from top to bottom or bottom to top, we should have all lines of communication open. Only then the organization can survive. So directing should convey clear instructions and create total understanding to the subordinates. So whatever instructions you have to give to the subordinates, you see that it is given in clearly and best way to the subordinates, and he has to have an understanding of what is the instructions given. He should exactly know what is the way, what he has to do, how he has to do, and within what time he has to do, and why he has to do these jobs. And only then we can see that we can ensure that there is effective managerial communication. So this principle of managerial communication tells us that there should be a free flow of communication from top to bottom or from bottom to top, because we should also understand that if there are any problems while implementing these instructions, they should be conveyed to the bosses at the higher levels so that they can make proper deviation or they can plan their activities accordingly. Then the next principle of direction is use of informal organization. So all these, they represent the employees in the organization. So they work as a team or they complete the picture of the organization. So a manager should realize that informal groups or organization exist within every formal organization. So we should understand that formal organization, there is a informal organization. Now if you want to know what is the meaning of formal organization, it means that it is created by the management to see that the organizational activities run very smoothly. That is a formal organization. Whereas an informal organization, it will be automatically created by interaction between the employees of the organization. So this informal organization takes care of the social needs of the employees working in the organization, and the formal organization, it takes care of the technical needs or the needs of the organization. The manager should recognize the groups of informal organization which are working. He should spot them and make use of them for effective directing. So we all know that man is a social animal and he will be following the group norms. So it is a formal organization. There will be an informal organization where groups of people who are like-minded with the same interest, they come together and they form their own groups. And they will be a group leader from that group and whom these persons will be emulating. So it is necessary for the manager to identify such group leaders of informal groups, and through them he should get the organizational activities done. Because if the manager in his official capacity, if he is not able to get the work done, then he can always get the work done through this informal organization. So he can do effective directing with the help of informal organization. So the next principle of direction is leadership. So while directing the subordinates, the manager should exercise good leadership, as it can influence the subordinates positively without causing dissatisfaction among them. So the manager should be able to exercise good leadership as it influences the subordinates. So we should understand who is a leader. Leader is a person person who can influence the action of his subordinates. So the subordinates, with the leader's influence, they will be ready to do anything for the leader. So in the same way, the director should be a good leader. He should influence his subordinates to action. So in this way, he should influence his subordinates positively so that they don't have any dissatisfaction. So he should see that they are positively motivated to do the job, and they are counseled and they are well guided in doing the job, and it is the duty of the manager to take care of this by offering very good leadership qualities. Then next principle of direction is follow through. What is this follow through? Just like in a game of golf, we just see where the ball is going and then we pick up and again we just hit the ball. The same way we are in this follow through, we just understand that mere giving order is not sufficient. So the process of direction, what do we say? Process in the direction, it is nothing but giving orders and instructions to the subordinates. Here we should understand that mere giving of an order is not sufficient. So managers should follow it up by reviewing continuously whether orders are being implemented accordingly or any problems are being encountered. If necessary, suitable modification should be made in the directions. So follow through means if you should just give the instructions and leave it there, that is not good. But you should also see that the director follows whether he should see that the employees are following the instructions whatever is giving, and the work is being done as per his orders. So a follow-up of his instructions is always necessary to see that work is being undertaken as per his instructions. So as per the plans of the organization, the work or activities of the organization are carried out. So according to that, and he should also see that if there are any problems in implementation of the plans, he should make a note of it and he should just give it to his higher-ups. So whatever problems they have facing while implementing, he should see that his higher-ups are informed and they should make proper suitable plans to overcome these problems, and suitable modification should be made in the directions. So it is essential for every manager to follow up his instructions. So mere giving instructions and going away, that is not good. So he should keep on supervising the job of his subordinates, and in case they have any problems, he should get it rectified and see that the job is done in the best possible way and within the framework. So all these are the various principles of directing which every manager should follow in his work. We have come to the end of this session. I hope all of you have understood what is the meaning of the word directing and what is the nature of directing, importance of directing, and also the various principles involved in directing. Thank you.